Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the City of Menasha Administration Committee meeting to order. Deputy Clerk Snyder, could we please have the roll call, please?
Alderman Sevenik?
Here.
Alderman Lewis? Here. Alderman Marshall? Here. Alderman Grady? Here. Alderman Rapella?
Here.
Alderman Nichols?
Here.
Alderman Eisenach? Here. All are present except for Alderman Perkins.
Thank you. Our first item of business this evening is to approve minutes from the Administration Committee meeting of May 6th, the Administration Committee meeting of May 20th, and the Special Administration Committee meeting from May 20th, 2024. Is there a motion? Alderman Eisenach.
Thank you. I would like to approve all three, 1, 2, 3 at the same time. So I'd like to move to approve Administration Committee 5/6/24, Administration Committee 5/20/24, and the Special Administration Committee on 5/20 of 24.
We have a motion by Alderman Eisenach and a second by Alderman Grady to approve the minutes from those meetings. Any questions or discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The minutes are approved. We have a couple action items this evening, and I believe they are all related. And so to introduce them, I'm just going to turn it over to Director Schrader. We have a professional service agreement by and between the City of Menasha and ePlex LLC as it relates to the commercial plan review for the City of Menasha, and then repealing and replacing a couple of ordinances, the first dealing with building, electric, plumbing, mechanical code, and penalties and fees, and the second dealing with fire prevention and hazardous material codes. Director Schrader.
Thank you, Chairperson Nichols. So as basically stated, these three agenda items are all kind of connected. Basically, currently the city is not a delegated community. What that means is when it comes to commercial building inspections, we do not have the authority of jurisdiction. So the state of Wisconsin does the state plan review, as well as their state inspector actually has to come in here and work through that project prior to that project moving forward and getting occupancy. So what we're trying to do is several different things. We're trying to speed up the process of which individuals can get commercial plan review, as well as speed up the inspection process from which we can move commercial building projects forward. Currently, the single state building inspector for the area, I believe, oversees 8 counties, so it has to stop at several different locations, which certainly can slow things down. We do have a contracted commercial building inspector as well as electrical inspector. They would continue to be on staff, and we are delegated as an electrical inspector, but just not the building side of things. So what we're looking at doing is contracting with a professional service agreement with ePlex, or ePlan for short. And what ePlan does is basically they're a jurisdiction or a third party to review construction plans. So instead of a contractor or a developer submitting the plans to the state for review and approval, which can oftentimes take 4 to 6 weeks, they would review that right directly through ePlan. ePlan would review that in guaranteed 15 business days, so basically a 3-week turnaround. So that's going to be less than the state allowance, which again can fluctuate depending on workload, but the ePlan also can be much shorter within an actual week. So with that, again, we would, that developer, instead of paying the state for plan review, would actually pay ePlan, and we would see a portion of those revenues back to the City of Menasha.
Question?
Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted, before we get too far away from it, so the developer and commercial builder would send the plans to ePlan electronically for review, and the people reviewing them are licensed and certified through the state of Wisconsin, correct?
Correct.
All right, I just needed to make sure that was the case, and that we stated that. All right, you can go ahead.
No, thank you for that clarification. So again, with ePlan, they are basically taking over the third-party plan review process for them to kind of move that process along a little bit quicker. The state is actually behind, so they're actually encourage some people to actually reach out to third parties such as ePlan. And I did reach out to several of the organizations that currently ePlan works with, including the city of Wausau and the city of Neenah. Both have shared great experiences in the processes that they have done. Furthermore, ePlan does have their own electronic permitting systems to submit the plans. We would actually have, internal staff would have internal logins to be able to view certain projects, to see where they're at, to look at the plans, to add comments, and to continue that communication and collaboration, which can move projects along a little bit quicker. So part of that, in order to have a third party delegation for plan review, we do have to become a delegated community. So with that, we had looked at our ordinance, and our ordinance did not give the authority to actually become delegated. So part of this ordinance is that, the becoming delegation or having the ability to become delegated. Upon approval of an ordinance, it would still need to have all the proper forms and everything filled out. So at any time, if this was approved, we would have to fill out those forms. The state would still have to review it and still give us our delegation. If something were to happen with an inspector or the third party, at any time the state would be able to take that back then. But basically the other items with the ordinance is they have to be up to code. So with this is updating all those code references to make sure they're meeting the current and existing state of Wisconsin approved code. So that is why we are looking to completely repeal and replace both the building code, which does include the electric, HVAC, mechanical, those sort of things, as well as the fire code. So with those three things, the professional service agreement and ordinance O-4 and O-5, we would be able to become a delegated community. Again, upon approval or consideration of approval this evening at the administration committee, this would go in front of the Common Council on June 17th. So we could have, again, we could answer further questions if there was any that needed to be addressed. In addition, we will kind of be working directly with ePlan. We do already have a tentative meeting scheduled with them next week to kind of start to look at that process and how that relationship would work with all staff. So only myself has really been engaged with ePlan with some input from internal staff, but this would start to kind of look at that overall process. If approved on June 17th, ideally what they would do is they would actually submit all the forms on our behalf for the city of Menasha, and they would assume that we would be a delegated authority by the end of the week. I will point out one thing, that we do still not have a commercial plumbing inspector. It seems to be a rarity in the world of inspectors. So we continue to look at third-party inspection agencies to fill that role. And until such a time that we actually had our own inspector, we could not have that go through the ePlan process. So the plumbing part of the code will still have to be submitted to the state for that review. And what immediately went through my head was, is that going to add confusion and complexity if that one developer has to submit something to ePlan and something to the state of Wisconsin? And in short, it shouldn't, because each portion of those projects have to already be submitted separately. That new Bryn building, the building is going to be architecturally submitted separately than the HVAC, separately than the electric, and separately than the plumbing. So those all have to be already submitted separately and can be submitted at separate times. So it really should not slow you down at all. In addition, if somebody were to look at doing a project within the city of Menasha, they would log on to the state's website in order to submit that, and it would pop up that the city of Menasha actually has a third-party inspection agency. Are you sure you want to continue with the state's process? Or here's a link to ePlan. So it has kind of that that check when they're actually submitting that to make sure they're going through the correct process. We will continue to look for a commercial plumbing inspector. I did reach out to another third party that I just heard is expanding on this work as of just last Friday, so I have that meeting scheduled, and again, hopefully, we'll be able to keep this rolling.
With that, thank you for that summary. I'm sure there'll be a few more questions. I'll get this moving and on the table. So I'll move to approve and forward to Common Council the professional service agreement by and between the City of Menasha and Eplex LLC as it relates to the commercial plan review for the City of Menasha. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Alderman Nichols and a second by Alderman Sevenick. And I'll take Alderman Sevenick's question first.
Thank you, Chair. I guess one of my goals is always to try, especially when it comes to our ordinances, to try to have the same thing as NENA, especially when we have a municipal court. We should have the same kind of rules in place, so it's made easier. And when I found out the city of NENA is also a part of this, then, I agreed to be involved with this. Personally, this is going to streamline the process, period. I have, on a couple occasions, talked to people that had been concerned about the state inspections being slow. And if this can expedite this in any possible way, that's a positive. So that's my position on that. I agreed to sponsor the ordinances pertaining to this, and I think this will be good for the city. As Sam has stated, hopefully we can have a more comprehensive process, including the plumbing aspects of it.
Thank you. Alderman Grotti.
Thank you, Chair. My question is for Director Schroeder. With this, does this reduce or eliminate or make it easier for your staff? Are they taking some of your staff's jobs or duties away? Or is it technically not related to what they're kind of doing for the city already?
It's not directly impacting city staff. So what this will impact is the commercial, our contracted commercial building and electrical inspector. It will provide them the complete authority to basically continue inspecting projects and process throughout development projects. So right now, should a builder have an issue, a general contractor have an issue, they can likely get directly a hold of Val Highland. He could probably be out there within a day or so. That might not be the case with the state building inspector, and ultimately right now the state building inspector has complete authority. So even if Al kind of came out and said, yeah, you're good to move forward, the state building inspector came out and was like, no, I don't agree with that interpretation, you have to go backwards now. So that's going to kind of move that process forward much more smoothly in that aspect. We are working, this is part one of several things that we will hopefully be bringing forward to the Common Council for consideration. The other two parts are permit fees. So we've been kind of looking at that holistically. I apologize that it's at the 5-year mark, but it is time to basically bring those forward and look at how those impact and how those relate to the service costs as well as how we compare with other communities. And then the second aspect of that, which would greatly impact our ability and to to move that workflow through much quicker is permit software. So there is permit software within the city budget, and we've been demoing software companies over the last year, trying to make sure that the city taxpayer dollars are a good fit for that type of service. So with these few things combined, we really hope to improve the communication and collaboration amongst the building inspection side of things.
Okay, thank you. I like the permit side of it, so that
Thank you. Director Schrader, you mentioned the timeline because we don't have a commercial plumbing inspector and neither does this company. So what if the developer and contractor gets their permits, their plans approved through e-plan in 15 days or less, but it takes 4 to 6 weeks for that plumbing plan to be approved by the state of Wisconsin? Does that create a problem for the builder?
Not necessarily. So again, oftentimes right now, even for instance, the library, right? If they're on a quick timeline, they would want to get an early start permit or just the foundation permit right away. So this will be able to greatly expedite that timeline where, again, they're moving those early starts forward, they're moving the foundation work forward, because in order for them to basically start that project, start to dig the hole, align all the contractors up, that's really where it starts with the foundation work. And then prior to the underground floor being laid, that's usually where the plumbing aspect comes in. So I think there's plenty of work to be had in that meantime. And again, it is something that with this ordinance that we're hopeful to continue to provide that service and find that right person to be that plumbing inspector.
Okay. And just to be clear, E-Plan is a company located here in Wisconsin.
Correct.
Yes. And then one last question that I have. Does any of this change or impact the Plan Commission's role in approving plans and site plans for projects?
No, these codes would not impact any current process or requirements as part of the City Plan Commission site plan review or facade architectural review of those projects.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 2 is Ordinance 424, an ordinance repealing and replacing Article A through Article E, Chapter 1, Title 15 of the Code of Ordinances pertaining to building, electric, plumbing, mechanical code, and penalties and fees, introduced by Alderman Sevenick. And Director Schrader, just to recap, this is the ordinance, one of the ordinances that goes along with item number 1 that we just approved, and it updates our ordinances to reflect those Wisconsin codes,
That is correct.
building codes.
Correct.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Alderman Sevenick.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like for us to approve and send to the Common Council Ordinance 0424.
And is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Sevenick and seconded by Alderman Marshall to forward this to Common Council. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. And item number 3 is the companion ordinance, 0524, an ordinance repealing and replacing Chapter 2 and 3, Title 5 of the Code of Ordinances pertaining to fire prevention and hazardous materials code, introduced by Alderman Sevenick. Is there a motion? Alderman Sevenick.
Thank you, Chair. At this time, I'd like for us to approve 0524 and send it to the Common Council.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Alderman Sevenick and a second by Alderman Rapella to forward 0524 to Common Council. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, and with that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, please.
We have a motion to adjourn by Alderman Eisenach and a second by Alderman Marshall. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned.